Hi traders, and welcome to the daily recap show for today, which is Monday the 22nd of November. So on the FTSE this morning we basically had 72.38 to 48 as the key zone that we wanted to see the reactions from to set the tone for the session. We spoke about if we got an impulsive move through 71.99 to 72.05. We had higher time frame support below. We said we needed to gain above 72.38 to 48 to head to the higher time frame resistances as well. So 72.38 to 48 really was the key zone for us today in terms of where our bias should be. So let's go and have a look and see what happened with today's action. So, although not totally clean, it definitely did act as the key zone for today, this 72.38 to 48. So, early on in the session, we did hold it as support. There wasn't really any good signals to get long from. We had this sort of push up here, it failed, use your support, impulsive push up, and then a corrective pullback. So this one here is probably the only signal of the day, which, or in the morning session should I say, where we could have got a trade. And as you see, not necessarily in the level that I'd normally look at, but you can see it has just taken out the previous low on the cash session and then reversed. So again, this is the sort of thing that we always look out for. Goes and grabs the liquidity, takes out some stops, and then pushes on up higher. So didn't really have the momentum to carry on through for a big rally, but there is a trade there that you would have at least managed to get risk free. If not, if you was taking profits, you would have got 1-to-1 out of that. We then saw this impulsive candle through here, and that there is your signal that we would potentially be heading lower. Now, we did head a little bit lower. You can see we used that zone of support initially for a little reaction, but not a strong enough reaction to even make it back to the other zone. So when you see this impulsive move through, you then want to be careful. Again, knowing that this is the key zone for the day, an impulsive push through like that, you don't really want to be trying any buys. A corrective pullback would have meant a selling opportunity in this area here. So if we'd seen sort of like if this corrective pullback had continued, and then you see a signal in this area here, that potentially is an opportunity to trade. But as it was, this move continued down lower, and then we got the counter trend impulsive move right back through that zone. You can see it's carrying the ATMA, it's all very strong. We get to the zone, there's no reversal signal here at all, and we've regained that 72.38 to 48 zone. So the zone was key today. It wasn't acting very cleanly. It acted cleanly in the morning session and it acted as support, but didn't get that momentum to really push on higher. And then we've had a false break. If you go to the higher time frames, you will see that it has actually shown a false break signal. So here, as you can see, even though it's just on the 15-minute chart, you can see impulsive move down, impulsive move back up, which shows that it's a false break of that zone. And as we've come back down, we've actually held this zone again on as support after the cash session is closed. So it's a classic false break. We'll have to see where we are in the morning, but yeah, the zone did act as the key area on the day and the key reference zone for the day's session. So now let's go and take a look at the DAX. So for the DAX, we had a similar report in that the 16,190 to the 200 area was going to be fairly key for the tone of the session. Above there, we can move up towards the higher time frames again, and if we held below and broke 16,145 to 60, then we could see further short-term weakness. So let's go and have a look and see how today's action played out. So as you can see on the DAX this morning, we did actually hold. It was very, very choppy initially, but we did hold below this zone. We actually held, I think this zone is probably going to have to be adjusted up to 16,205 tomorrow, just because of the action that's just occurred around it. But it was very choppy, and then we got this again. We got another nice impulsive candle. Excuse me, sorry. We got a nice impulsive candle rejecting that zone, and that really did set the tone for the day. So unlike the FTSE, where the FTSE held just above it and then oscillated back and forth from the zone, the DAX was a lot cleaner. It rejected the zone early on, and it really set the tone for the rest of the day's session. We held the 145 to 160 as support here. Again, you're just taking out the overnight lows. It's a nice setup in terms of a long from there. Personally, I wouldn't be trading this one, because a bit like the FTSE below 16,190 to 200, I'm sort of expecting the market to be a little bit weaker, or certainly neutral. So I wouldn't necessarily be looking for that trade. However, we do then get a push down through the 145 to 160, and as you can see, once we get the acceptance below that zone, we really did show that extra weakness. Again, a bit like the FTSE, we have shown some recovery. We are still below this 16,190 to 200 area, so we'll have to see where we are tomorrow. The DAX is definitely a little bit weaker at the moment than the FTSE, so we'll have to see where we go from the morning session. But I hope you found that useful, guys. Like I say, not really too much in terms of clear trading opportunities for the DAX. There is a continuation pattern. Once we got through this 145 to 160, we can see a continuation pattern here. That's potentially a trade that would have been okay to take below this 16,190 to 200. And then we also had this one earlier in the session, which in isolation is a very nice pattern. It's just taking out those stops that we always talk about in these reports. But being below that 16,190 to 200 had shown some sign of weakness, so longs from there may have been a little bit tricky, or even though it's with the overall context of the market. So I hope you found this useful, guys, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow. Cheers.